Actually, this is a three-pronged investigation. You've got the water component, which I supervise, the Marine Patrol and Dive team. We have our fatal crash team, or our traffic safety team, that is investigating the dynamics of the vehicle. And then we have our detective bureau, basically our investigative side, that's investigating the death investigation, potentially. So what we did on Saturday, call came out. All the public safety agencies, plus a number of other agencies, responded out to the pier. So from a decision-making point, there's a number of dynamics that I have to decide. But before I even got there, Virginia Beach Fire inserted rescue swimmers into the water. Their rescue swimmers, their mission is to try to identify the location and then, if possible, effect a rescue of anybody on the surface or subsurface. So that's what they're doing. By the time I got there, they had pulled their folks out of the water. Now, I know a lot of times you're going to hear about survivability in the water. Coast Guard uses that for when they're doing a search and rescue and a recovery. So understand the dynamics and survivability rates for the Coast Guard is for an adult in a PFD on top of the water, not on the bottom of the water, not in the dynamic environment that we have. So on Saturday, when my boats arrived on scene, the first thing we do is, because we couldn't locate the car, there were no fluids, no bubbles, no streams, no floating, no debris floating that would give us an indication of where the car may be. The first thing we utilized, my first two officers on scene in the boat, are using side scan sonar. So they're sonaring or using sonar operations to try to identify the location of the car. As soon as they pass in front of the pier, bam, we got an immediate image, and it's clear on sonar what a car looks like.
What's the depth of the water there?
It was 17 feet at high tide. At that time when it went out, it was high tide going into low tide. Understand that's a 6-hour period. We knew that low tide, slack water, was going to be at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So in that case, we're going to make some decisions. Now, the guys on the boats were able, my officers on the boats were able to tell me what current we had going, what the amount of current that we had, and which direction it was flowing. And so at that time, we had 3.9 knots of current. A knot is more than a mile per hour. So understand, public safety diving, all of my divers are internationally certified in public safety diving. That's what we do. We have some of the latest and greatest equipment. We're very fortunate here in Virginia Beach. We train with all the local agencies as a regional dive response. I had some of the most seasoned and senior guys that responded first thing Saturday morning out onto the boat. Public safety diving parameters are, we do not scuba in anything more than 1 knot of current. It's just not safe. It's not safe. So if you understand the dynamics, and I'm trying to explain that, is if you're standing at the ocean front and that current hits you and you get knocked off your feet while you're standing in your bathing suit, imagine wearing 90 pounds of diving equipment and being tethered to me topside so that I can communicate with you while you're down in zero visibility, trying to identify a car in an unstable environment. You can't maintain your station. We accept risk as police officers, as firefighters, as EMS workers. We accept that risk. Anybody here in special operations accepts an additional risk. All of my officers are very well trained. The most senior seasoned guy I had doing the plan on Saturday has over 20 years of public safety diving experience. He is my senior team leader. He's a dive instructor. He teaches public safety diving to other agencies. So I've got these folks that are making plans while I'm standing on the pier going, can we do this? Can we do this? Can we do this? Our friends in Chesapeake Fire, they had an ROV, basically an underwater drone. I called them and they brought their underwater drone out, and we actually put the drone in the water. The drone was having problems maintaining station in that current. Those Chesapeake firefighters that were operating that ROV were doing their absolute best to keep that on station. But they're doing that in zero visibility, and all we're really getting is their ROV bumping into the car. So we got zero vis, we can't see. But it's got a sonar. So now they're doing their thing with the sonar. So what we ended up getting as a total picture was, we can't see visibility-wise the car, positioning of the car, but from our sonar and their sonar, I think I'm pretty safe to say, and I don't think it's going to bother anybody, the car's on its roof, and the car's unstable.
Is there a fear that it can drift in the current?
No, but the fear is one of my divers is going to get entangled in the car, get entangled under the car. But that doesn't mean that we're not still diving. We're continuing the plan. So the plan was, we're gonna plan out our dive until we can't. So throughout the day, the plans were taking place. The city doesn't have we've got lots of stuff. We just don't have a crane on a barge. We don't have that. Crofton does, or other, other agencies here in the city, not public agencies, but commercial agencies have that. So I knew that we're going to be able to do that. Why? Because I can't drag a car 1,000 feet up to the beach. We just physically can't do that, because all you're going to do is push all that sand in front of the car. We're not going to be able to do that. So all that's going on. Ultimately, the plan on Saturday was, if we can get in the water, we're going to get in the water. So we used all of our intelligence from the morning. We used Chesapeake's ROV. That afternoon, we even said, okay, we're going to try to dive at slack tide, which would be, I think it was 2:55 Saturday afternoon. We're going to try to do the dive then. What ended up happening was, in the immediate, we took our underwater cameras and once again tried to anchor a boat, put a boat out, and put our cameras in the water so that we could see something on the car. See in a window, see a license plate, see something on the car while we're working the problem. What ended up happening is the current didn't slow down for us to the point that I could put somebody in. It was still 3.2, 3.3 from 3.9 in the morning, had an outgoing tide, and now we were going to fight that little weather front that came in Saturday night.
So when's the next time you can do something?
So that was the plan for Sunday, and what ended up happening is we knew that we had to beat that weather front coming in Sunday night into Monday. That's when Crofton was contracted, and they came out and tried to put their equipment in place. Quite honestly, from the beach, and I'll be the first to admit, if I'm standing on the beach looking out, it looked very pleasant. When you're standing on the pier, watching them 40 feet away, trying to put that barge in place, and the end of the pier where we're all standing is swaying, because of the wave action that's right there in that shoaled area, I can understand people's frustrations as to not understanding why they couldn't maintain station wood. But to tell you how dangerous it was, they broke 2 bridles that hold their cranes in place, and they snapped a mooring line from the crane barge onto their dive boat. That's how violent it was out there. So
what about like the spuds that they used to pile?
So the spuds, what's interesting is they put the spuds down and they were still having a hard time maintaining station. Simply because of the wave action, we were not able to overcome the sets of waves that were coming in. And then once those cranes broke loose, I'm not a crane expert, once they broke loose, all I saw was things swinging and swaying, and quite honestly, it got very dangerous. I give them a whole lot of credit because they thought through the process and they tried to adjust 2 more times for us out there. When we plan, it's going to be weather dependent. Okay. So I have not got the call from Crofton yet, but I'm hoping to get a call here shortly to tell me when they expect the next break in a weather event. We know today's not good. We have small craft advisories today. It's dangerous out there. On top, it would be dangerous down below.
Are there any remnants on the floor
Absolutely.
of the old pier?
Absolutely.
And is that a complication as well?
That would be a complication for any diver because
Okay.
that risks that presents an opportunity for entanglement. Okay. And just as does an unstable car. So if I have a diver that gets pinned underneath the car, if his if his tether gets wrapped around an obstacle down there, then that means I have to send another diver down to try to disentangle that diver. So there's just a lot of dynamics, and in a zero visibility environment, it makes it exponentially harder. So I fully understand and I fully appreciate, nobody wants to bring resolution to this more than we do. And we are as frustrated as everyone else that we can't get in the water and we can't do something to get this moving forward. And trust me, it's not like my guys and I we've been planning out everything possible that we have available to us.
Moving forward, are you guys basically waiting for the call from Crofton to know when you guys can pick up operations?
Correct. They got to give me a clear weather, and then we'll go out and support them as usual.
And where are they out of?
They're out of Portsmouth.
Okay.
Yeah.
So your guys are gathering information as soon as they can when it's safe to do so,
Right.
and then they give it to the traffic reconstruction people?
So it's a combination. So
like we can see the make of the car, we can see the license
absolutely,
plate.
yeah. So
okay.
if we could go down and do that for them, because critical information that they want to know because they're crash investigators. We had debris, obviously we had crash debris up on the pier. I think I'm okay to say that. I think people saw that. I think that's public information. So we know we have crash debris up there. So what they're going to do is they're going to take that debris, they'll run it through databases to see if they can give an ID of the vehicle. So that's one thing they'll do. Obviously the crash investigators and our detectives will scan if we can get something from the crash debris and the video that has been shared all over the place. They'll go back and scan all of the oceanfront cameras, the interstate cameras, business cameras, people that have come forward to give us their videos, all that information. Yeah, we glean all of that information on the investigation side. When we get in the water, the first thing that we do is we report everything to them that we can see. So if we can see a tag, if, we're no way we're going to be able to see a VIN unless I have an open door and they can see the decal inside the door. But usually if we can get a tag, then that's what we want to do. Now remember, it is a crime scene, and by the Commonwealth of Virginia, the law enforcement agency is required to investigate all medically unattended deaths. If there is somebody in this car, it's a medically unattended death. So that car is a crime scene. Anything around the car is a crime scene. So we have to maintain the integrity of that for those investigators, because quite honestly, we don't do that part. We do the recovery, we hand it off to them, and then let them do their thing. So in this one, it's a unique, because we have all three teams. Usually we're doing something for the detective bureau only, or we're doing something for the traffic safety team if it's a vehicle in the water.
There's a buoy at the end of the pier. Is that tethered to the car, or is that just there for
No,
the marker?
I wish I could get it tethered to the car, but what we've been doing is we've been marking the front of the car. Because I can share this with you. This is not going to give, and it's not intelligence or anything. The car is, when I say it's on its roof, it's quasi on its roof because of the way that the bottom is there. So it's not totally
Kind of
flat
listing.
on its roof. So it's kind of listing. Perfectly, great example.
Okay.
We know that the rear of the car is facing north, which is going towards the north end or 31st Street. And we know the front of the car is facing south or towards the jetty. That's the orientation that we can get there. So what we did is,
So it's listing toward the beach or toward the water?
it's listing towards the beach, and it's
Okay.
rocking back and
yeah.
forth on that, if you can call that an axis.
Fulcrum or whatever,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So that's what it's that movement is going forward. So not only do I have that forward and backward dynamic, I also have that potential side dynamic with waves going this way, current going this way, because our currents at the ocean front run primarily north-south. The wave action coming in this way, I got coming in from the east. So waves always come from the east.
All those forces are dangerous to your guys.
Absolutely. In a scuba environment.
Right.
What's different is hard hat divers.
Does that mean hard oxygen line?
Correct. I'm
Okay,
gonna
yeah.
I'm gonna use the we've all seen Men of Honor.
Yeah.
Hard hat diving.
Okay.
Of course, that's 1950s technology. These guys have got 2024 technology. So that's exactly right. They're in pressure, climate controlled suits, which means they're getting, like this time of year, they're getting heat pumped into their suits, so they're nice and comfortable. They're weighted. They're tethered to the dive boat or the barge, and they have a full-time supply of air, which means they're getting full air the whole time they're down
They
there.
can stay down much longer.
And they can stay down much longer. They're more comfortable, and those guys are used to working in that environment. But the best thing is that they know the dynamics, so they can weight themselves so that they can remain upright and work in place. And so there's the difference. My guys will be having to work, basically laying on the bottom, and they'll have to work like this, and then have to try to overcome any currents. And then just understand that the normal current at the ocean front that we have that runs either north or south, generally on a good day, that current's going to be, maybe half a knot. So that's why we can have an open beach. So when Virginia Beach Life Saving Service shuts a beach down, they're looking at that current, and that current is pushing a knot plus, which means it's dangerous for citizens to be in, and it would be dangerous for us to dive in.
And you say
Is it possible that this car can roll onto the beach or even roll out?
No, it's what's happening right now. It's just like what's interesting again about our dynamics at the ocean front is a lot of times things that are there are going to get buried. So my expectation is that what we're going to see when we get there finally is we're going to see on the side of the vehicle that's facing our beach is going to be a void of sand. On the side of the vehicle that's facing the ocean is going to be a buildup, a wall of sand. So when they go to rig that, simply because of the dynamic, the wave action and stuff. So my expectation is that what we're going to see is they're going to have to, when they rig that car to lift, they're going to have to work through that sand to lift it. And that's normally what we see at the ocean front anyway. Any dynamic, even if we have a boat come up on the beach and it's there for 6 hours, you're going to see a buildup on the ocean side and a void on the beach side.
So the person is still with the vehicle or inside the vehicle?
We're going to presume that there's somebody in the vehicle until
So-
we can prove there's not.
One more thing that I've been seeing on social media, there's a lot of people posting a ton of negative comments about what they think the situation is all about.
Right.
Can you explain why, and we probably know the answer, but why you cannot remove the body without the car?
So we've all seen crashes on the roadways, and the dynamic amount of damage of a crash on a roadway. Just look at that damage, that debris. So we know from the debris that's on the pier, the condition of the last gate tells us a lot about the speed of the vehicle. So we have to expect and interpolate that there's going to be a significant amount of damage. So if you've ever seen fire department do an extrication of somebody out of a vehicle, that's the same problem that we would run into trying to extricate somebody out of a car. One, I have no visibility, which means I'm trying to reach into something, try to get something that I recognize as maybe, let's say, a car door that's upside down. So now I have to manipulate that door, try to get through that door, which now is going to be a safety hazard for my diver because they're probably not going to fit with that 90 pounds of gear. So now all I'm using is arms. And I'm going to try to manipulate whether or not the person's got a seatbelt on. And then we have to presume, based on the front end damage, that our airbags have inflated. So front impact airbags, side impact airbags, so they would have to work through that. So in good visibility, you know, we would have to cut that, work through that if we wanted to extricate a body or anything in the car. In no visibility, in an unstable environment, it just adds exponentially to the problems. Now, I can tell you that we've done vehicle recoveries with bodies in the vehicles in lakes and retention ponds in the city and all over the city. Generally, because it is a crime scene, we want to leave it encapsulated as best we can, because when you open up that portal to the ocean, we're going to lose evidence. And that's what we don't really want to do is lose evidence. But if we have to, then that's what we do. But then, I mean, it's the awful part of our job, because all of us want to go in and get. But we know as investigators that we have to make those tough decisions that, you know, but that's a great question, because just we have to expect there's significant damage on the car.
Thank you.